Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Dan, your friendly fishmonger, and we do this live stream every other Wednesday. It's 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 9 Eastern. For those of you that are Mountain Challenge, thanks for coming by, spending a bit of your evening with us. We're going to talk about aquarium fish. That's what we do here. I have a shipping report for you to tell you what percentage of the fish we've shipped to customers in the last 12 months have arrived in good shape as reported by our customers. We have a giveaway today. Get into that. I'm going to show you some cool fish that we've listed recently. And then we're going to get to your questions and comments. We're just going to geek out about fish, talk about fish, aquariums, everything to do with freshwater aquariums. So that's the docket for the day. Let's get to it. The shipping report is, last time I reported to you 2 weeks ago, we were at 98.76% success over the last 12 months. Now we're at 98.75%. So pretty good. We went down 1/100th%, which kind of doesn't really mean anything when you're talking about that small of a fraction of a number, but I do like to see it going up instead of down. But we went down one little tick today. Our goal is 99%. We're pretty close to that. Every now and then we touch it. Sustaining 99% is really hard, but 98.75% is where we're at right now. What that means is over the last 12 months, as reported by our customers, 98.75% of the fish that we've sent them have arrived alive and in good shape. So that is what that number is. So thanks to our customers that give us feedback and keep us informed as to how things are going. You're a large part of why we operate the way we do. It's the customers letting us know how things went. We can look for patterns, we can make adjustments, and that over the years, constantly listening to the customers in putting what we learn into our processes is what's made us the company we are today. So thanks to all of you. I know a lot of you have been customers of dansfish.com for a long time, and a lot of you have been very active in offering your feedback here in the chat and in emails and in customer reviews and all of that. And that's all hugely helpful. We really appreciate it. Cheers. Shout out to Jeff Rose Fish Keeping. It's good to see you active again, my friend. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right. Now that we've got the shipping report out of the way, let's do the giveaway. So the giveaway today, it's been so busy. So typically when I do a giveaway of free shipping, it's because I just haven't had time to go around and find like the perfect giveaway fish. And that's what it is this week. So this week and last week, both imports were delayed. And so I got home Monday night and hit my pillow at 4 a.m. And I'm getting old enough that it takes me a couple days to recover from that. So I've been dragging a little bit yesterday and today. I feel like I'm at the tail end of that. But it's not like back when I was in college when I could pull an all-nighter and then do a full day of classes and then go to a party. You know, it's not that anymore at all. And then last week as well, the imported fish were delayed and it was another all-nighter. So an all-nighter a week, 2 weeks in a row is enough to make this guy a little tired. And so I've been kind of playing catch up and all that. So I didn't have time to go around. So what I decided to do, usually what I do is I go around and look at the fish, and any fish that looks particularly awesome that day, I'll list as the giveaway. You know, people ask me what's your favorite fish, and the answer is it could change every day. Like I was walking through the warehouse the other day and lemon tetras were displaying. Lemon tetras, let me show you. For those that might not know what this fish is, the lemon tetra is a very standard tetra. It's been around for decades. It's a popular old favorite. It's hardy, fairly peaceful. Claim to fame is this lemon yellow in the fins and this black border, the black border shows really well in this picture. So this fish, is one I've seen a bajillion times over the decades. Well, I walked by the tank the other day and they were displaying and sparring and spreading their fins and dancing, and they blew my mind. And so at that time, that was my favorite fish. And then the next day I'll be walking around and another fish will be looking awesome. And that's just kind of it. I have a charmed life. I get to observe all these fish every day and they blow my mind every day. Something as common as a lemon tetra can still blow my mind, and I think that's awesome. And then sometimes we have really rare stuff that blows my mind too, but when your mind can be blown by a lemon tetra, and you've been doing this for 30 plus years, you're not jaded. It's like this still isn't old. After all these decades, it's still not old. I still love it. So anyway, that's usually what I do. I walk around and see what looks awesome and then put that as the giveaway, but I didn't have time to do that today. So the giveaway today is still cool. It's free shipping. So on your order. So it doesn't matter how much you order, you get free shipping on it. So you could order 1 fish, free shipping. You could order 100 fish, free shipping. We'll cover it no matter the amount of fish you purchase. So if you'd like to be entered to win some free shipping, enter hashtag #SendIt in the chat, hashtag SENDIT, no spaces, capitalization doesn't matter, hashtag #SendIt. Put that in the chat and that enters you to win free shipping, which our cheapest shipping is $40, $39.99. In a giant box, the big boxes we ship are, I think, $70, something like that. So, it's a good deal. And the other good thing about doing free shipping giveaways every now and then, besides the time savings on my end, is what if you've been like every week you're like, he's giving away something else I don't want. He did that last week too and the week before. And what if you've been like at the live streams for 6 months and I've never given away a fish that you're like, that's one I actually want? Well, everyone can use free shipping. So with free shipping, you can buy the fish you actually want, even if it's never been given away, and still get a gift, right? So at least $40 of value. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. Free shipping. A whole lot of people are sending it. I should have said full send. Oh well. Anyway, that is the giveaway for the day. Hopefully people find it useful. Now I want to talk about some stuff that we have available at dansfish.com that I listed, most of this just earlier today, this afternoon. One of them we haven't had in forever, and it's this. This is the electric blue Jack Dempsey. These are an absolutely stunning fish. Everyone asks, are they delicate? In my experience, they are not delicate. I don't think we lost a single one in this batch. I think that's a true statement. And so, no, I don't think they're delicate. I do think there are delicate lines of any fish, whether it's from inbreeding or disease in the system or whatever. But these guys are awesome. And by the way, there's different grades of electric blue Jack Dempseys in the hobby. There's really cheap grades and there's really expensive, the A grades. And these are the A grades. So I don't know exactly what that means, except for to say that they've been hardy for us and doing awesome. So they get fairly large Jack Dempseys. The electric blues tend to maybe not get quite as big as the regulars, although I've seen some pretty darn big electric blues over the years. And from what I've experienced, the electric blues aren't quite as aggressive as a regular Jack Dempsey, although I wouldn't call them peaceful once they're a big adult. But I've seen them kept with like full-grown rainbow fish and Synodontis catfish and some other things like that. So I wouldn't call them a community fish. I mean, Jack Dempseys are super tough fish. This is an aggressive cichlid. It needs to be kept with other aggressive fish that could go with a Jack Dempsey, or something that's large and fast moving like a rainbow fish. Now, by the way, I'm not recommending you keep them with rainbow fish. I'm just saying I've seen it done successfully. So I know they can be kept with some other stuff. So that's one we haven't had in forever. I wasn't planning on bringing them in just because typically we here at dansfish.com, we usually deal with small, peaceful community fish, right? Something you could keep in a planted tank or whatever, and not have to worry about, if I mix these two together, is it going to be bad? Usually almost everything we carry can be mixed with each other. It's mostly peaceful community fish. Not all of them, but mostly. But we got so many requests for these that I went ahead and did it. And by the way, if you want us to get a fish in that we don't have or haven't had it in a while, if you go to the item and you click add to wish list, then that gets added to a list. And I check that list every week when I'm ordering fish. And if a certain fish suddenly has a whole bunch of requests on it, then it's like, oh, I guess I should bring that in. There's a bunch of people that want that. And so if you want to kind of influence what we bring in here at Dan's Fish, just add an item to your wish list. And the more people that want a certain fish, the more likely we are to get it in, because that's how you serve your customers. You get in what they want, right? All right, this I'm also excited about. This is Rhinogobia Jouy. My picture isn't great. It's okay, but this might be the prettiest Rhinogobius. Just absolutely stunning. The flame white edges on the fins with the nice red coloration. They're just an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous fish. And what's super special about these is we have them in pairs. For the first time, we were able to get like distinct males and females. And so they're in pairs, which is awesome. This is one fish that when I get to the point where I have the time and I can start breeding more fish again, that's what I love doing. I'm a fish breeding hobbyist by nature. I love spawning and raising aquarium fish. This is towards the top of the list. This is one that I would really like to take a stab at. All right, have not had, well, I think I already showed off the Nothobronchius. I'm trying to look for stuff that I haven't had in quite a while. Oh, rosy loaches, I haven't talked about these in a long time. Small, peaceful, always active, and diurnal. So this is not a loach that's going to hide all day and then come out at night. These guys are active during the daytime, which is cool. So they're a hovering loach. They are miniature, and they eat pretty much anything they can fit in their mouths, and they're super peaceful. So a great little nano loach if you like small loaches, kind of an oddball type fish. One last pair of the world's most mind-blowing sailfin mollies. They really look this good. This is a female. Here's another one. So some of them are orange gold, yellow gold, and some of them are like this one. And some of them are a platinum gold, like this guy that's in full display. This one's younger. He hasn't quite developed out completely. And this is a very late developing strain, by the way. I've been sitting on these for, is it 6 months? They came in at about an inch, and we grew them out, and now they're big and beautiful, but it took a long time to grow them up to the point where we could reliably sex them. The issue is the females. There'll be females in there, and so you'll sell someone a pair because the males are obvious. But then sometimes those females are subdominant or immature or late maturing males, and so they look like females, but you sell them, and then 3 months later the customer gets a hold of you and is like, my female's a male now. So we have to hold on to them for a long time sometimes before we can actually sell them sexed. But we can now. They're big enough, and they're absolutely spectacular. If you want to see what these look like in motion, there's a video on the Dance Fish YouTube channel that is called like Only Albino Fish or All Albino Fish, where I created a tank with just albino types of fish in there, and this is one of them, and you can see them in there in that video if you want to see kind of the variety and what they look like in real life, just, well, on video at least. Absolutely stunning, really, really pretty fish. Oh, gold dust earth eaters. So these are cool because I sold some of these, and then that hobbyist got a hold of me and was like, I've got a bunch of babies. So I was able to buy a whole bunch of babies from a hobbyist breeder. I think they're from stock we originally sold to this hobbyist, if I remember right. I could be mistaken. But it's awesome when we can buy fish from you guys. And I know there's a lot of you that have sent an email wondering if we want to buy from you, and you're waiting for a reply. It's in my inbox. I will get to you. I promise. I promise I will get to you. We haven't had Panda Gar in quite a while. These are fairly small, right around an inch in size. To me, this is the prettiest Gara because it gets kind of that panda pattern, but also some color in the fins. It's kind of maroonish orange color. Fat little belly. They're a surface grazer. They're endlessly active. They're clowns. If you get a big group of them, I think it's the best way to keep them just because they interact all the time. High energy. And then I'll shout out just a couple more. This one is the full green guppies. These are from a show strain. This strain won has won a few shows with these. They're really stunning. They have big full tails, and just so you know, the tails, when they're that long, often they'll split. Sometimes during shipping, sometimes just during life. But when they came in, several of them had some splits in them. The genes are great though. It's just really difficult to ship a fish with this full of a tail without getting a split in it somewhere. So just be aware of that. But it's a really high quality strain of full green guppies. And they range from a bluish green to a yellowish green in the tails. You can kind of see the yellowish green here and the bluish green here. And then this one is more a light blue and yellowish green. Two more. One is the Betta Siam orientalis. The males get really pretty. The group we have right now is too small for me to sex reliably. And I don't see any obvious sexes in there. But I've had these previous groups I've had long enough where I have seen them sex out, and they're absolutely stunning. The females are cool too. They don't have as much color, but the females are nothing to sneeze at. They're a pretty little fish. This is a picture that I took in my tank. This is a male that we had long enough that it started to color out, and here's a female here. You can see the blues and reds starting to come in there. But the cool thing about this species is it's peaceful. So you can keep a big group of bettas in the same tank, or with other fish if you want. You can keep most bettas with other fish, but these guys don't tear each other up. So as long as you have some cover, some plants, they have a hierarchy. So you need to let them establish that and maintain that, which means some fish are occasionally going to get picked on, like chickens. But if you have plants in hideaways and caves and stuff, then everything will be fine. You can keep a big group of them together without any issue. And I think that's a sight to see when you have a tank full of beautiful bettas in the tank together. It's not something you can usually do with the, not with siamensis, not with or splendens, I mean, the traditional betta. Then the last one, just because people have been waiting on it so long, is we were able to get some more Phoenix rasboras. I know it took a while. The Phoenix rasbora and the Chile rasbora, they're seasonal. The collecting season is shut down once or twice a year so that they have time to repopulate so they don't get over collected. So I think that's great. I think you want a fishery managed like that. You don't want to over collect. And so they just have not been available for a while because they've been out of season. But the season is opening up. They're starting to trickle in. We're starting, hopefully soon, we'll have some chili rasbors as well. Probably still a few weeks out from that. But Phoenix rasbora is pretty awesome. Beautiful, tiny little nanofish, peaceful, and just kind of one of a kind. All the Boraris species are just, there's nothing like them. So let's look at Boraris. So here's the Phoenix, here's the exclamation point. Hope to have a few of these ready to go in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But it's called that because it has this line here with a point there. And then similar to both the Phoenix and the exclamation point is the chili, which has a different pattern on it. It's a nice red coloration. All of them are small and peaceful. Here's the strawberry. And then here is the spotted. Now, telling these apart when they're not colored up is really difficult. Sometimes it's difficult to tell them apart even when they are colored up. So they're all beautiful, they're all small, they're all peaceful, they're all very unique. The Boraris species are just something you don't, they're kind of one of a kind. They're miniaturized little aquarium fish. So that is kind of some of the cool stuff, or stuff we've been out of for a while that people have been asking for. Bow Wow 1369, thanks for being a member for 43 months. That's a while. Thank you so much. I appreciate the membership. It's helpful. It says, hello all. Well, hello right back to you. At this point in the chat, I think we're going to get into the comments and the questions and just start discussing stuff. Before I do, I want to thank our moderators for moderating, keeping everything flowing smoothly. I really appreciate you guys. Okay, with all those send-its flying through, it's pushed a lot of the comments up to where I can't see them. So I'm going to start with Lisa the Wolf at 7:10 p.m. If you sent a question or comment before that, I can't see it. So relist it if you wouldn't mind. How many mountain minnows do you recommend keeping together in a 20-gallon? So provided it's set up with enough filtration and, I don't know, plants or whatever, however you set it up to deal with the biomass, I'm just going to talk about how many could comfortably fit in that space provided nitrogenous waste wasn't an issue. So we're going to pretend, we're going to assume that the tank's set up, it has enough filtration, and it's set up in such a way that you can add as many fish to that tank as would be comfortable in a 20-gallon, and you're not going to have ammonia spikes and such. So provided that's the case in a 20-gallon, I think once they're full grown, I'd probably start with a dozen. They're going to get 1.5 to 2 inches, somewhere around there. And I don't like a tank that feels really crowded. So I think I'd start with a dozen, maybe 15. And that's probably going to be enough that the tank looks like it has fish in it, but not so much that it's like there's so many fish in there they can't even swim. They're packed in like sardines, right? So something like 12 to 15 is probably what I would do in a tank like that, if that was like a species-only tank. After months of waiting, I finally got the red swamp picked guppy, which means the hobby can finally resume, obsessing about a different fish. Yep. Ahmed, that's one that I would love to have. If you breed up a bunch, I'd love to buy them from you. I probably need to buy them in lots of 200 to 300, but if anyone here can produce swamp guppies, it's one that I would definitely like to get and to sell. I would think with no soil, no nutrient substrate in it, just sand. Are there any grass I can get that doesn't need to be planted in something nutrient dense? Also, what other plants are good? Says N4279. So 4279, plants are something I know very little about. So I'm probably not the best person to guide you on that. other than to say I've successfully planted Ludwigia in sand and it did great. I've successfully planted Amazon sword plants in sand and they did great. Just don't cover the crown. Don't cover the point where the roots become the stem. Let that float above a little bit. What else? Kambaba did really well. I think that's how you say it. Is it Kambaba? And there's been a few others, but those are the ones that come to mind that I've planted in sand, and they've done great and grown like crazy. So just plain sand, fish, and no fertilizer or anything, just fed the fish. So that's what worked for me. But I'm sure there's others. I'm not by any means an expert on aquarium plants. So folks in the chat, if you wouldn't mind chiming in and helping N4279 figure out what plants they could try with some sand in the bottom. What was the other fish you had with the electric blue jack Dempsey on the green screen background before? Oh, geez, I can't remember. I can't remember what was on the green screen. No idea. I'm sorry. I mean, I'd have to go way back and actually look at an old live stream, and I can't really do that while I'm live streaming. Will you be getting in any smudge spot cories? Vash the Stampede, not for the foreseeable future. I will get them, but not like, I don't have plans to get them real soon. And the reason is there's a lot of customers waiting for other fish that are in higher demand. So my focus is satisfying those customers. But yeah, I'll get more in, just I can't tell you when. It's not going to be anytime soon. They're not really, I don't have a lot of customers waiting on them. So I know 478 aquariums sounds like a lot, and it is, but we still have lots of customers waiting on fish that we have a hard time keeping in stock sometimes. So that's kind of the focus. Now, we still get rare stuff every now and then and other stuff every now and then just to keep it spicy. So we will get more smudge spot cories. I love Corridor similis, or whatever the new genus is. I love similis. I just don't have any plans to do it like immediately. Not to say it couldn't happen immediately. Sometimes I'm doing an order and I've filled everything. It's like, hey, I've got a couple tanks free. What can I get that's just cool and neat? I don't always know when that will happen, but when it does, then I get stuff like that, yeah. But they're awesome. I hope you can get some really nice ones, because that's a corridor worth having. Javier Taino, will you get albino stirby again anytime soon? Yeah, I might have already done that, and they might be ready in 2 to 3 weeks. Can you talk about ocelot plecos? Oh, the L174. Yeah, the L174 ocelot pleco. Let's see if I can find some pictures. I hope to have some of those ready to go around May if everything goes properly. I can't promise anything, but that's what we're working on right now. We're working with that breeder. I think they'll have some ready to go and we can get them by then. Look at these things. Just an absolutely amazing, super neat fish. And what's really cool about it, it stays really small. So this is a fish. This is, hang on, let's, L174. I want to show you what ours looked like. Okay, so these came in, see that sponge filter? You can see the little pores in the sponge. This thing was 1/2 inch, really small. For scale, this is a core sponge filter, like an Aquarium Co-op core sponge filter, same kind of pore size. And that's how many pores, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm at 5 pores, and I'm 1/4 away the fish. So what, 25, 30 pores was how big this fish was, really small. These are one of the smallest corridors in the world, or corridors, sorry, Hypencistrus plecos in the world. They top out at maybe around 3 inches, maybe a little less. Anyone in the chat, have you had them long term? Has anyone ever seen them bigger than 3 inches or bigger than 2.5 inches even? I'm curious if you can verify what I've read, because I've never kept them long enough to see them full grown. They always sell when they're still really small. Really interesting, neat looking fish, and it's super rare. And the reason it's super rare is it has a very limited range, just a few kilometers of a river, and it's a specific section of the river that's like 30 feet deep, and the flow in this thing is super fast. And they live way down at the bottom at like 30 feet deep, in and among all these big boulders, with the water just whipping through there. So that's why they're rare. They're super difficult to collect. If you can imagine being a fish collector, I've got to go down 30 feet deep and I'm in torrential water. That's hard. It's difficult to do that. And so they're almost never available, hardly ever available. There's one breeder I know of that produces them somewhat regularly and has really nice ones. And so that's where we get them. Small fish, really rare, but like a typical hypancistrus, feed them a mix of meaty foods, but rotate in some veggies occasionally. I found they will eat zucchini. They prefer the rind, especially when they're small. They'll kind of eat it. As they get bigger, they'll eat it less. You'll see them scrape on it a bit, but they don't enjoy it that much. But I keep it in there, especially when they're small, just so they have something to graze on between meals. And when they're adults, well, I've never had them as adults, but if I had them as adults, I would give it to them occasionally as well, just so they get a little veggies in the diet. But they like scraping the rind better than the soft part of the zucchini. Have I tried? I can't remember if I've tried like French cut green beans or anything like that. That would probably be fine too. But their main diet is like frozen bloodworms, frozen brine shrimp, extreme monster pellets. And we also put wood in there. I know they're not a wood eater, but I see them graze on the wood and it comes out in their poop. So I know they're ingesting it. And again, I just think it's something that they can kind of graze on between meals. And when they come, they usually come in really small. And when you have really small fish that's growing fast, it's just important to keep stuff in front of it that it can graze on all day and all night. You don't want them to run out of energy as they're trying to grow super fast. Their metabolism's just really high. And that's about what I would say with them. If you can give them an environment where the flow's pretty fast, good water movement, they'll enjoy that. That could be just like a super rapidly bubbling air stone with a lot of big bubbles coming out of it, or a really rapidly flowing sponge filter. That's sufficient. But if you can, I think a powerhead would be really enjoyable for them. And lots of places to hide. And that's what I think would set you up for success with those guys. Yeah, neat little fish. Really hard to find, but so worth it. They're really cool. T-Shot, hey T-Shot. Been a minute, it has indeed. Hope all is well, buddy. It is, my friend. Hope you're doing well too. Hope the fish room's coming along. The fish shed, was it? I think I remember T-Shot building like a fish shed. Gerlach James, hey, how are you? Hope you're doing awesome. Paraotocinklus Harold die aren't available. I'll be able to put them on my wish list by any chance. So that is the one downside of the wish list is if it's a species we've never had in stock, there is no good way to request it. You could send me an email and that might get it in my brain for a little while. Look at these cool fish they're talking about. These neat little spotted Paraotocinklus. Look at that. So neat. But I mean, but this one this is not one you have to like remind me about. If I ever saw something like this available, I would just get it because it's awesome. So I don't have a way to let you know if and when I get them because we've never had them in before. But once we do have something in, then the wish list works really well. But we don't have a good solution for how to work with stuff that's not in our system. Okay. But yeah, if I ever saw that, I would get that. That's just too cool. Okay, scrolling down the chat here. Oh no, it's gonna jump. Oh, okay. Hang on. It jumped hard. Let me find this. Okay. Scrolling here. Okay. Alex Silva, UF7UZ. I saw you've got Adolphi cories, but they're listed under a different name. Are they different? So, kind of. There's Corydoras duplicarius, and there's Corydoras Adolphi. Let me show you. Duplicarius. Okay. So here they are. This is duplicarius. I'm sorry, this is Adolphi, and this is duplicarius. And a lot of the ones that are pictured and say they're duplicarius might be Adolphi, and a lot of the ones that are pictured and say they're Adolphi might be duplicarius. The truth is, I don't think anyone really knows for certain. The Adolphi and duplicarius, you're supposed to be able to tell them apart because on the pectoral fins, one species is supposed to have these little spines on them. But I've looked at a lot of them under magnification, and I can't make heads or tails of it. And I've talked to a couple true Corydoras experts, people that are published about Corydoras in the closely related genre. And some of them are like, yeah, there's two species for sure. And others are like, well, I don't think they're actually two species. I think that we gave two names to the same fish, basically, but they're not actually separate species. So, I don't know. There's some confusion for sure. You can get one or the other. I don't think you'll ever know if you have one or the other. I don't know that there's any consensus on if there is in fact one or the other, or if they are in fact the same fish and we're just calling them different things. So maybe they're the same, maybe they're not, but for all intents and purposes, I mean, they look the same. If you're just looking for a pretty fish to keep in your aquarium, it doesn't matter which one you get. They're going to look the exact same pretty much. Some people say the black on one's a little bolder than the other and stuff, but I think we're reaching. I think maybe the ones that particular group are like that, but I have seen nothing that's really convincing either way. So some experts will staunchly say that there's two separate species, and some will say, yeah, I kind of don't think so. So I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not an ichthyologist. I'm a hobbyist and a salesman. So, but that's the download on that. Deck Timothy, how many cories by themselves would you put in a 29-gallon for breeding? So I'm going to assume we're talking about an average size cory that gets around 2 inches as an adult. And say in a 29-gallon full adult for breeding, I don't know, you could do 12 to 15, I think, comfortably. More males than females is often helpful to get them to spawn. It's not necessary for some species, but back in the day, it was always 2 males per female was the recommended amount. I don't know, in a larger group, I think it starts to matter less what the ratio is, but you want multiple males in there. You want them in there, you want them stirring things up, you want them getting the spawning going and stimulating the females to the point where they'll spawn. And when you have multiple males, they tend, I think, to have more success. So that's what I would do. Multiple males in there. I don't know, if you had 12 to 15, you could do halvesies. If you had less, then I'd have more males than females. Okay, scrolling here to look for another question. And that's it. We've reached the bottom of the chat. 741. Phelim Aquatic said, awesome. And Deck Tim said, appreciate the answer. Hey. Nia Lee says, 12 to 14 Corys was going to be my suggestion as well. All right. I'm glad I'm not out there on the edge by myself making strange recommendations no one agrees with. I'm interested in being a hobby breeder of live bearers. What do you look for in quality fish from your preferred suppliers? What makes them stand out? What makes your life easier? The two main things are health and that the line is pure. So we want them to be healthy. That's the bare minimum. And then we want, when they breed, that 95% or more of the babies look like the parents. And we want the parents to all look similar. So we want the parents to look like you would expect the strain to look. We want the babies from those parents to be what you expect the strain to look like. Because if someone's breeding guppies from us to breed them, or buying guppies from us to breed them, and a lot of people are, then it's always a bummer when they breed them and only a small percentage look like the parents. It's like, oh great, now I've got a lot of work to do to really get this line refined. And that's just par for the course for most guppies. But if we can bring in guppies or endlers that when they breed, most of the babies look like the line is expected to look, then the customers just can be so much happier when they buy them from us and breed them, because they don't have to do as much work to set the line. So those are the kind of two things we look for. So if you have some that are healthy and you have them in good quantity, usually I like to buy 100 pairs to 100 to 150 pairs of a given guppy at a time, or endler. Then yeah, send us an email, hello@dancefish.com, Hello at dancefish.com, and we'll get something going. And again, I just want to say, if you joined recently and you emailed us and you have some fish to sell and you haven't heard back from me in a few days, I know I'm a little behind. So I've got that email. I'll be responding to you. It's just been very busy the last couple weeks around here, so I'm a little behind on that. So yeah, if I get pictures and videos of the parents and the offspring and they look like a strain that I think people would like, and they're healthy and they breed, and the line is well set, they breed more or less true, then yeah, I'm interested. Okay. Scrolling here because chat moved again, and ooh, chat's moving. Okay, the next one that I see, by the way, for those that might be new, when I scroll here, what I'm looking for, like this I just pass through because I assume this is just happy banter amongst the folks in the stream. This is what I stop for, these orange boxes. So to grab my attention, put @DansFish in your chat and it'll become a bright orange box for me, and then I'll know, hey, stop there, this one's directed at you, Dan. So that's how I manage the chat. The original Brian, no way, Dan reached the bottom of the chat. I know, it never happens. We done did it. With 319 viewers, not bad. Usually if I reach the bottom of the chat, it's because no one's here. But 319, that's a good amount. Thanks for being here, folks. If you know someone that you think might enjoy this type of content, would you mind taking a moment and sharing it out to them? See if, so we can get some more folks in. See if we can share the fish love. Elf Puncher. Would you want to breed Corys in a tank as tall as a 29 gallon? Feels high for babies. I mean, you definitely could, but more surface area is what they want, right? Like a larger footprint is probably ideal, but if you have a 20 high, or 29, yeah, 29 you said, and that's what you've got, that's not a problem. You can breed them in there and the babies can raise up in there. So no worries. Well, look at what just happened. It's been a long time. Not enough memory to open this page? Yeah, there is. It's been a long time since the chat's crashed. All right, let's see if we can get back in. Hopefully you can all see me and hear me still. Just give me a moment. I've got to redo some stuff here to get everything back open. And hopefully we didn't lose everyone's questions and comments. I'll tell you in a minute here. All right, did you lose me? I'm back, I hope. Did I disappear, or could you guys see me and hear me the whole time? Hopefully you could. I've bred corridors in 75-gallon tanks, and those are a couple feet deep. So I would assume they're deeper than the 29-gallon, and they did just fine. Excited for my first order with you since getting back into the hobby. Welcome back. Got 6 orange Venezuelan cories and 8 rainbow shiners coming to me next week. Can't wait. Oh, good choices, both of those. Yeah, that's excellent. Rainbow shiners, I think the only reason people wouldn't get them is because they've never seen them colored up. You didn't lose me? You could see me and hear me the whole time? Awesome. If you've ever seen a rainbow shiner colored up, man, it's like something AI created. It's like a hallucination. They're just stunning. See if I can find some to show people. Even when they're not breeding, the males look really nice. So let's see what's a fair, there. They look like that when they're not breeding, all these specks and iridescence on the fins and stuff. But when they're breeding, fire in the water, like hot pink. And by the way, they breed all the time. I know if you read the articles and stuff, you're supposed to like give them a cool period and warm them back up and stuff, but they're bred by the millions in Southeast Asia on the big fish farms. And they breed every day for us here, and we don't alter the temperature or anything. We keep our water at 79 degrees year round, and they're always breeding. Just super pretty. Hot pink and blue. Whenever I catch them spawning, I always yell and get everyone in the building over, and I'm like, everyone get over here! And we all come and look at them because it is mind-blowing. So I hope you get to experience that. Amazing, amazing fish. Hey, it looks like people shared out of the chat because there's now 323 folks here. So welcome if you're new. Welcome. Thanks for coming by. Can you give me some tips for quarantining some hillstream loaches? I'm getting a group of 6, 1 to 1.5 inches, and I have a 20-gallon long for them. Okay, quarantine. So quarantine's kind of an issue that people can get a little dogmatic about. People can get downright fundamentalist about. And I'm not. I am for my fish, because I run a fish business. And I have to make sure the fish are healthy before I sell them, and I definitely don't want to, send a pathogen out to a customer. It's inevitable. A very small percentage of the fish are going to have that. And we can't even human medicine, as advanced as it is, and it's a lot more advanced than fish medicine, isn't 100%. So I'm very dogmatic about quarantining the fish we get. We quarantine them for at least 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes months, however long it takes to get them healthy. But for my customers, I'm not dogmatic about it, and I'll tell you the reason. Is it better if you can quarantine the fish? Yes. Would I recommend it? Yes. Is it the safest thing to do? Maybe. And the reason there's a maybe there is because of how people set up their quarantine systems. So if you had a quarantine system that was in no danger of experiencing like an ammonia or nitrite spike, was a stable system, then yeah, I would put the fish in there and I would keep them in there for 2 weeks or a month before adding them to my prize tank with my prize collection of fish. And I just observe them. If I saw anything, then I might treat them. But there's some issues with that. If you have a nice stable aquarium, there's going to be a lot of biome in there. There's going to be all kinds of little protozoans and bacteria and fungus that are keeping that system in balance. Not to mention your nitrophine bacteria. And so if you put the fish in there and observe them, great, no problem. If you decide you're going to use ICX or something, no problem. That's usually not going to crash a system. But if you end up using antibiotics or some other medications, you can put that system out of balance. So, well, even ICX can put it out of balance. It might not crash the system, but it can get it out of balance. So little protozoans, bacteria, and fungus, like these water molds, right? There's more, but let's just call it these 3 basic legs on a stool. If I kill the bacteria in the system, 1 leg is gone, the stool's out of balance. And what happens is the other 2 populations, the protozoans and the water molds, they no longer are kept in check by the bacteria. And so they can grow, they can boom in population, and that can cause its own issues. It doesn't always, but it can. When we treat with antibiotics and Prazi, if you knock out bacteria and a lot of protozoans, you'll get this white cottony water mold all over the surfaces of your aquarium. It doesn't kill the fish, it's not actually harmful, but it really is unsightly. If you have a nice prized aquarium, it's like, what? Now, once you stop treatment, it all can go back to balance within a few weeks, but and it'll usually disappear within a few weeks. But what I'm saying is, if you quarantine by observation only and don't have to use medications, and you have a nice, stable system, easy peasy. Yeah, every time I would do that. If you use a lot of medications, you can make a stable system unstable pretty quickly. So is it better to do that? Or is it better to take the fish, if you get them from a place that does have good quarantine procedures and stuff, and just put them right in the aquarium? I don't know. There's higher risk of something being introduced if you add them right into the aquarium. There's higher risk of something going wrong if they're in a quarantine tank and you have to add medication. If you don't have to add medication and it's a stable environment, I think it's a no-brainer. But the other issue is most people that quarantine don't have a stable environment. I don't know if it's most. A lot of people. Like, I have new fish coming in, I'm going to set up a quarantine tank, right? So they get a tank that's empty or been sitting around or whatever, and they set it up real quick as a quarantine tank. Or they'll use like a plastic container, like a Home Depot storage container or something like that. And those systems are a big problem because they're not stable. They're not ecosystems. They're just temporary systems. And in those systems, you can get ammonia and nitrite spiking really quickly. And so if someone is not experienced with quarantine and sets up a quarantine tank because they're trying to do right by their fish, one of the biggest problems we see is when people do that and then you get nitrogenous waste buildup. And the bad kind, the ammonia and the nitrite, especially ammonia, those systems. So I would discourage people from quarantining if the only way they can quarantine is to set up a temporary system that isn't stable and seasoned and is likely to experience nitrogenous waste spikes. Because that'll kill your fish very quickly. If that's the case, I'd say, okay, you're not experienced with quarantine and you don't have a stable environment that they can go into be quarantined, it's probably better if you just put them in your tank. Yes, there's risk that disease will be introduced in your tank, but it's a lot less, I think, that would happen than it is if they come from a reliable source that's pre-quarantined them. Than it is that someone unexperienced will be successful quarantining fish in a temporary system like that. You get so much ammonia buildup in those kinds of systems is so frequent that I don't know if I can recommend it to someone that's not truly experienced. So my thoughts on quarantine are, if you have a stable environment they can go in and you're just going to observe, go for it. If you're really experienced with quarantining, go for it. If you know how to set up a temporary environment and use meds as you want and not have ammonia spikes or nitrite problems, it's usually ammonia. They're usually not set up long enough. Usually the fish, if they're going to be killed in these things, if we're going to kill them with kindness in these temporary setups, usually we do it at the ammonia stage. They usually don't make it to the nitrite stage. But yeah, if you're experienced with that, then fine. But if you're not, I would put them right in with my fish. If you got them from a reliable source that has already quarantined them, and has knowledgeable staff that can actually screen them, and all that. So that's my thoughts on quarantine. I think, yes, it's good to do if it can be done right and be done safely, but I think a lot of people don't have the experience or the proper setup to do it safely. Scotty the Fish Freak! Scotty, how are you? I hope you're doing awesome. Type at Dan's Fish to get Dan's attention. It highlights for him. Yep, makes it bright, bright orange. Boom, look at that highlight. Oh yeah. What type of wood for the L174? Oh, I don't have specific types. I get some hardwood that hasn't had chemicals or anything, and I put it in. Yeah. So something that's old and aged and doesn't have sap in it, and is, you know, completely dried out. That's kind of what you want. Any wood that you buy in a fish store, I think would probably be fine. I might not put cholla wood in there or anything with tons of little holes in it, because a pleco could get stuck in those. But yeah, Malaysian driftwood's awesome. But I don't know. I had an old apple tree in my yard that was dead for a few years and was completely dried out, and I cut that all up, and that was excellent wood for plecos and shrimp and snails and autocinklus and that kind of stuff. So there are a few types of wood that are toxic to fish. I can't remember what they are. Does anyone know what is the kind of hardwood that can be toxic in it? I've heard there are some, but they're not in my area, so I've never had to pay attention to them. But I've heard that that's true. I'd have to get it confirmed. I don't remember what they are, and I'm, you know, you hear a lot of things that aren't true, so maybe it's not true, but I've heard it is. Dan Wilcox 4183. Any consideration for phase 2 of the warehouse? Yeah. We do talk about it occasionally. We talked about it last week. The issue is, though, that we're still able to grow in our current space. So one thing you want, I think, when you're building a business and learning how to make it as good as it can be and trying to iterate and improve it, I think you want constraints. I think it forces you to problem solve. And in problem solving, you find the efficiencies and the processes and procedures and all that stuff that allow you to get to the next level. So I think constraints are important, especially when you're just building something up from the ground from first principles. For example, if we had the second half of the warehouse built, if we had twice as many tanks as we have now, we have 478 tanks now. So if we expanded and doubled that, then I would never have been forced to find the best ways to manage the inventory, because I'd have so much space. I'd be like, oh, we got space, just put it in there, right? And you know, when your inventory is living creatures, the more it's unmanaged, I don't mean like I'm not talking about, of course we're going to take care of them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about having the fish the customers want the most in stock, figuring out how to supply them so you don't run out, still getting other cool stuff in, having the health team have a process so that everything moves through the quarantine as it should, all those things, the more leaks you have in that process, the more it saps your company of resources and time and treasure, because the more time and labor and effort goes into managing it. So, yeah, right now we're constrained and space is a constraint, but we're still able to find ways to grow and do more within the space we have. And I don't want to remove that constraint until we've got to the point where we're like, okay, that's it. We do not know how to improve this anymore. At that point, then I think you seriously consider expanding, because your expansion won't have any holes in it, right? Expanding can put you out of business if you do it at the wrong time. So yeah, we definitely have thoughts about doing this. For those that don't know, our warehouse, we built so that we can double its capacity pretty quickly. And we set up the whole property that we're on and the build of the building and the systems for that. And so, yeah, it's something I think we'll do something like that. Or maybe we'll get as optimized as we can and be like, you know what? This is kind of nice. Like, running at this size feels good. Maybe we stick here, but I don't know. I doubt that'll happen, knowing myself. We'll probably end up expanding if the numbers make sense. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. We get the West Java pea puffers again soon? I think so. I'm hopeful that within a week or two, so I have some now and they're going through quarantine. And I'm hopeful that within a week or two, I can offer them to you for sale. Yeah. So we're working on them right now, the West Java pea puffer. You were close, says T-Shot. I have a fish tent, a grow tent in my basement. Good memory though, I'm impressed. That's right. That's right. Hope it's awesome. Have you ever carried Anastomus anastomus? I haven't. The cigar fish. I haven't. Let's show everybody what this is. These are pretty cool. So they're really neat, and I like them, but they're not one I've brought in yet. Some of these types can get fairly aggressive. I don't think this one's super aggressive. I've seen this kept with rainbow fish and some other things successfully. But yeah, they kind of feed at the top. They feed on the underside of leaves and wood and stuff like that. So all the other fish are on top, you know, eating this way. They're going up underneath and eating. So that's their little niche. So I've never carried those, no. I think I might someday, but I haven't yet. Okay, let's see here. 312 folks here. Woo, not bad. This isn't a big channel, so having that many people here is pretty cool. Thanks for being here, folks. Renzo Ide, I'm looking for crystal darters. Know anything about them? No, I've never kept the crystal darter. I've kept orange throat darters. I've collected 3 or 4 species of darters. I really like them, but I've never had them. Okay, so here's what we're talking about, folks. Really interesting, unconventional, not something you see very often at all fish. So I honestly don't know much about these fish. I just think they're cool. But I've never kept them, never seen them available. The closest I've cared for is the swamp darter. One of my good friends growing up used to have a tank of them, and they would breed in the sand. They would inject their eggs in the sand, but not crystal darters. Ahead of pond season, what are good pond fish that could tolerate cold weather and would be visible in a pond? Yes, that's the trick. Okay, let's go on a little tour. So the first thing, I'm going to say gold white clouds, because they could take a wide range of temperatures and they're gold colored, so you can actually see them. A lot of fish can go in ponds, like the standard white cloud would go in a pond and do fine, but it would be hard to see when you're looking down from the top, which is the only view you have in a pond. So white cloud. So here's the difference. So the top surface of a normally colored white cloud, look at how dark that is. You're just not going to see that very well. Whereas this is absolutely going to pop in your pond as you're looking down. The other one are rice fish, especially something with iridescence on the top. I really like Miyuki rice fish for this because see this bright iridescent stripe? That just absolutely glows in a pond when you're looking down from the top. And these can live under ice, and they can take it really hot as well. So these are like naturally from that kind of environment. These as well, this is the marriage kissing. This is a Miyuki rice fish with other fancy things bred into it. So extra long fins, white fringes on the fins, the Miyuki stripe on the back, and iridescence on the sides as well. So this is a fancy Miyuki type rice fish, and this would look awesome in a pond as well. But so would any kind of light colored rice fish. These real long fin, that's what RLF means, real long fin. These have really nice long fins on them. See this big, the males get these really extended fins and they're awfully pretty. But these are light enough that they would show up well from the top too. So that's the kind of thing I would look for. You could keep rainbow shiners in a pond, but you're not really going to see them from above. They're going to just disappear. Beautiful in an aquarium from the side, where you can see the iridescent spangles and the blues and all that. But in a pond where you're looking down on the top, I think they're going to get lost. So the principle is bright colored and, if possible, shiny. That's what you want. A light, bright colored fish that's shiny. Now there's some guppies that are awesome too, but they're not going to take it very, very cold. But white clouds, rice fish, that's where I would start. You could also do paradise fish. Especially the albino. Well, we'll show you both. Most people know these. I think this was actually the first aquarium fish. There wasn't a goldfish, or did they beat goldfish to be kept in aquariums in the West? So really pretty fish. But again, these are not going to show up very well in a pond because see how the top is kind of dark. Basically, if you're a fish, you don't want things to see you from the top because that's where the kingfishers and other birds of prey are scanning the pond for food from. So even gorgeous fish usually have some kind of dark or plain surface color on the dorsal surface so that a predator can't find them in the wild. But in aquariums, we've developed albinos. And those albinos are super bright from the top. So I think that's another good option for a pond where the only view you have is from the top. You can't usually see it from the side unless you've got a glass panel on it or something. So that's what I'd recommend. And I would say if you're buying them from a fish store, almost all the fish stores are going to be keeping them at tropical temperatures. So I wouldn't buy them and put them directly into a cold pond. Like if you had a pond outside on your patio right now and you were in an area of the United States where it's, not tropical, you were not in Florida right now, I wouldn't take the fish and put them directly in there because they're used to high 70s, low 80s, and then you put them in 55-degree water, that's going to be quite a shock. I would wait until summer, put them in there, and then when it cools down, that's a gradual process. When it cools down in the fall, they'll be fine as long as they're temperate species. Okay, I want to do a Riverine style tank with hillstream loaches and some other cooler water fish, 68 to 72 degrees. Any suggestions for interesting tank mates? Yes, Rhinogobius. So species that can go in cooler water with with hillstream loaches. So there's tons of different rhinogobius. Lots of them come from temperate regions. Just do your research and make sure yours does. There's lots of those that can go in that temperature of water. There are some species of Stiphodons that would do well in that water as well. I just do your research. Some of these come from, like, you know, Taiwan. I think some of them come from Japan as well. Yeah. So any of the gobies out of Japan or China would do well. Bitterlings are an option. I've never kept bitterlings in community aquariums, so I'm not sure about the compatibility. I've just never tried it. So they're probably fine. I've never tried it though. So temperature-wise, they would be fine. At least a lot of species that are from more temperate areas. Make sure personality-wise they would, aggression-wise they would. I'm pretty sure they would, but you know, never tried it, so I can't say for sure. What else? There's some barbs that come. Oh, was I not showing those? I think I forgot to show those. There's some barbs that take cooler temperatures. Yeah, but I think, lots of native fish, the shiners, rainbow shiners, yellowfin shiners, crimson shiners. Yeah, pretty much anything native to the United States. And there's some fiery black shiners. I've kept fiery black shiners with hillstream loaches. They did well. If you can find an awesome fish as Characidium rackovi. This is a tetra, but it's from down in Uruguay, and it can take cold temperatures. I've kept these outside with hillstream loaches. They're really pretty. I know the pictures aren't going to show it, but these fins get really nice orange, contrasting with that black. And they're a hummingbird tetra. They don't have much of a swim bladder, so they're kind of perched up on their fins all the time. Really active, really personable, really neat, really rare. I'm not finding a good picture of them, but some of the stuff from Uruguay would go well in that kind of an aquarium. So that's where I'd look. I guess I'd look for fish from Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, Japan, China, and the United States is kind of what I look for. Why don't you do your live stream in front of the tanks, or at least a video loop of tanks in the background anymore? So I found it difficult on the green screen. I'm just not skilled enough to have good quality live streams when I'm using a green screen. I never got it set up to where I really liked it. Maybe one day I'll dig in again. Stephen P got me an awesome green screen in Beck. Got me an awesome green screen, and I really like it. But I think I need a studio with the proper lighting and all that. But the main reason is I'm on my desktop. So I'm on my desktop. Here's the tanks, but the way my desk is oriented, it would be very difficult to change the camera and the computer and everything every time I live streamed. So I just hung some curtains and do it in front of the curtains. Maybe one day I'll get a tank behind me, but the other reason is this is kind of like my office space, so I need a little bit of extra room between me and the curtain back there for when I have meetings with employees and stuff and vendors and all that. So one day I'll set up like a proper studio and I'll have something really nice behind me. But right now, I just don't. Hi, Dan. I hope you're doing well. Fantastic. A little tired. Been a couple all-nighters, but doing well. What is your opinion of the African butterfly fish? I love it. Are they as grumpy as I might erroneously perceive them to be? No, they're not grumpy. You can keep them in big groups together. I've kept them together in big groups. I've kept them with other fish. My favorite thing is to keep them with water sprite. So for those that don't know, most of us know this, but if you're new to aquariums, this thing is fantastic. This is a relative of the arowana, and it is a freak of nature. Like, look at this thing. Look at those amazing fins, extended fins. It's a surface dwelling fish. You need a tight lid because their defense mechanism is to jump, and they don't just jump, they glide. Really cool. But no, I didn't find them difficult to keep. I didn't find them aggressive. I had them in with a whole bunch of floating water Sprite, so they had places to hang out under plants at the surface, which they seemed to appreciate. No, they're fantastic. I got a tank all set up for them with water Sprite and stuff because I was all excited. A couple of weeks ago, it looked like I was going to be able to get some in, and then it didn't happen. They didn't show up. But I'm still trying. It's a fish I really, really enjoy, really like. Nah, they've just got that funky looking mouth. They look kind of pugnacious, but in my experience, they're not. Any idea when you will have the virus-free dwarf gouramis in pairs? Pelham, I don't know. The issue is that when I buy them from the breeder, they come in small, and we sell out before they've grown enough that we can sex them. So, so the only way that we would have sexable pairs is if the breeder sends us larger ones, which they don't do, or we had them long enough that they grew up large enough that they were 100% sexed out, right? None of those females are just sleeper males. They're going to later become males. And that's the thing. It's like, got a tank full of them and they're like, well, that's a female, but we don't know for sure yet. It's going to take a few months because sometimes those females become males. They're just late developers. So I don't see it happening in the foreseeable future because the breeder we get them from has very limited supply and the demand is pretty high. And so we get them whenever we can. We can't get that many, and they're small when we get them, and they sell out before they grow enough for us to sex them. So that's the same with the virus-free pearl gouramis. Yeah. You know what I think it's time for? Dun, dun, dun. I think it's time to give away some free shipping. All right, there's 251 folks here who would like to win some free shipping, and the winner is Cautious Microwave 6. Cautious Microwave 6, you have won. You have 2 minutes to claim your winnings. So when this timer reaches 2 minutes, if you haven't left a comment in the chat by then you forfeit your winnings and we'll draw someone else. So you've got till that timer reaches 2 minutes to leave a comment in the chat. That's how you claim your winnings. So Cautious Microwave 6, get on it, get in there, and claim your winnings. If you don't within 2 minutes, we'll draw somebody else. That's just how we do it. Any tips on breeding Batis? Yeah, lots of cover. Lots of food, clean water, and lots of cover. And I think they'll take care of business for you. That's me, says Cautious Microwave 6. That's you. All right. That took all of 49 seconds. Congratulations, Cautious Microwave 6. You have won some free shipping to Dan's Fish. If you would send us an email to hello@dansfish.com, that's HELLO@dansfish.com. We need to know who you are and how to get you your winnings. So do that, and then we'll email you a gift certificate for free shipping or a discount code for free shipping. We'll figure it out. We'll get you free shipping. And that's you. Yes, I'm here. That's me. Yep, that's you. Congrats. Thanks for playing. So again, email us, hello@dansfish, HELLO@dansfish.com, and we'll get you set up. Okay, I'm going to shut this thing down. I want to thank my moderators for moderating. I want to thank the members of the channel for being members. Thanks for that monthly support. I want to thank everyone that threw neat stuff at us, like super chats and stuff. Thank you. Very much appreciated. I want to thank everyone that was lively in the chat for making it lively, and for those that entered the giveaway for participating. And I want to thank the lurkers. If you're not active in the chat, I still love you. Hail the Lurker Nation. If you're watching the replay, hello from the past. And if you're listening to the podcast, thanks for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks, I think. I'm scheduling a minor medical procedure, nothing to be worried about, just, you know, normal stuff for an old guy like me. And I think the doctor might be scheduling it on the 18th, so we might live stream on the 18th. It's still in flux, but if we don't, then we'll plan on doing it the next week, the 25th. So I'll see you the 18th if I can. If not, I'll see you on the 25th. And until then, I hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.